Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting of council for Monday, April 9th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. I'd like to call our meeting to order and have the agenda approved. First, I'd like to recognize that we're doing our business this evening on the traditional unceded territory of the Hupetchesset and Sechot First Nations. Councillors, any late items? And City Clerk, any late items?
No late items, Mr. Mayor.
Then a motion to approve the agenda as circulated would be in order.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. And Council, just before we go on to the adoption of the minutes, I'd like to let the audience and our city know that we have our City Hall flag flying at half-mast in support of the people who are suffering from the tragedy at Humboldt, Saskatchewan. We have a very strong connection as a city with Humboldt, and there will be a vigil on Thursday of this week at the multiplex at 6:30, sponsored through the Bulldog organization. Council, a motion to adopt the minutes of the special meeting held at 4 p.m. and a regular council meeting held at 7 p.m. on March 26th.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Council, this brings us to the public input period. It's an opportunity for public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. Maximum of 4 speakers for no more than 3 minutes each can be accommodated. Is there anybody who wishes to address council? Seeing none, then we'll move forward to our delegations. We have one delegation this evening, Council, and that's with the Canadian Cancer Society. We have 3 representatives from the Canadian Cancer Society in attendance, and they're going to present information about Cancer Month and the annual Daffodil Drive. 4.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much for this opportunity, Mr. Mayor and Council, for the Canadian Cancer Society. As a lot of you know, April is Daffodil Month. I have a short 3-minute visual presentation, and then I'd like to have another minute and a half to make an audio presentation.
Certainly.
In 1994, Ian Stanton was a happy man. He was working in the woods as a log loader operator, and to say he liked his job was an understatement.
I loved every day that I went to work. I got up in the morning after my holidays. I was looking forward to going back to work every single day.
Yes, life was definitely good. And Ian was healthy, or he thought he was, until his doctor called with the results from some routine blood tests.
The doctor informed me that those blood tests had come back and showed that I actually had blood cancer. My life had changed forever.
Not just his life, but his wife Nell's as well. And the very first thing Ian did was go to where she worked to tell her.
She was standing behind her hairdresser chair and working on a customer, and I say, honey, I need to talk to you, and we need to go outside, and I told her. What goes through your mind is the one thing: how long have I got? That's the thing that comes to mind. How long do I have? And you don't know.
Within 24 hours, Ian was in Vancouver General Hospital, and the prognosis the oncologist delivered was chilling.
Told me that if I was another few hours, that I definitely wouldn't make it. And he said that the best chances that you have is a 20% chance that you're going to get through this, and that I needed to do what it took to put my affairs in order.
Well, you know by now that Ian beat those odds. And today, he is helping others who are facing a cancer diagnosis as a volunteer with the Canadian Cancer Society.
I went to a couple peer support group meetings that were sponsored by the Canadian Cancer Society. At that time, something went into my mind to tell me I needed, at some point, if I get this off my back, that I'm going to do what I can to help the Canadian Cancer Society, and most of all, to help cancer patients. Whenever I get an opportunity, I am working with the Cancer Society, doing fundraising, I'm at the hockey games, down at the Harbor Key, at the Thunder in the Valley. Pretty well any event that Port Alberni has, Canadian Cancer Society is asked if they would like to participate in it. Canadian Cancer Society, Ian speaking. When I went through it, there was a 20% chance that I was going to come through it. Today, through cancer research, which is the most important part of the work that the Canadian Cancer Society does, is cancer research. And today, for the type of cancer that I had, a person could go in there expecting that he's going to have an 80% chance of walking out of there and having 5 years of life after he's come away from having been treated with blood cancer. I guess it's time for coffee. The last 24 years have been absolutely fabulous. I got a greater appreciation for life. I got a greater understanding of things that I need to do to hopefully leave this earth when I pass at a little bit better place than it was when I was born. Thank you. Yep, that's not about me. That's about the fundraising. That's about the cause. And April is Daffodil Month in Port Alberni. It started in British Columbia, and it's a program that's spread right across Canada. And the daffodil is a symbol of strength and courage in the fight against cancer. I'm asking you today to make a donation to wear your poppy in April to show your support for Canadians living with cancer. Please have all your friends and family members wear a daffodil. We're asking for a $2 donation and a very small price to help with cancer research. Daffodil pins are available all over town. Thank you very much to the mayor, councillors, citizens of Port Alberni for listening to my story, and I am a very grateful cancer survivor. I'd like to have my colleagues here come and pin some daffodils on you, fine councillors and mayor. And of course the chief financial officer and the city clerk as well.
Okay, let's see. There's no way I'll be able to put it.
Thank you very much.
So, Ian, thank you so much. Just while we're getting the daffodils put on us, just a couple quick questions from me. Probably councillors will have a couple too. I missed the part on how many years have you been without cancer?
It's been 24 years, and since I've walked out of that hospital and had a bone marrow transplant to give me another chance. Been volunteering with the Canadian Cancer Society for 22 years. 2 years after I got the monkey off my back, I started paying back.
So did you ever go back into the woods?
Yes, I did. I went back out there for 8 years. I've basically worked, other than about 3 years of downtime during my treatment.
Yeah.
Jack McClellan will remember one of the neat things about when I first got clearance from my doctor. I could go to the union meetings, the IWA back then. And one of the things the doctor said to me, he says, you can't be around any cigarette smoke. So I went to the union executive and I says, hey, this is the way it is. Reluctantly, that was the beginning of no smoking in that hall. And I'm kind of proud of that.
You can actually still smell a little bit of it even today, though.
Thank you very much.
So the logs were massive logs in those photos. I don't think we get logs that size out of there anymore, do we?
Those logs were from down in Henderson Lake, and a picture like that, there was definitely a picture load, and yes, it was a one-off opportunity to load those logs on those trucks, and they came from the back end of Clements Creek, which is down in Henderson Lake.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, thank you, Ian, and yeah, I do remember all them days. I'm not that old, oh boy. Anyway, congrats, and I'm glad you did get better way back when.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Thank
very much,
you.
everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, council, I don't believe there's any unfinished business, so that brings us then to our staff reports. Our first report is on accounts. Councillor Washington, are you able to make that?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Yes.
I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated April 9, 2018 be received, and checks numbered 141-237 to 141-330 inclusive, in payments of accounts totaling $742,496.45 be approved.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And next item is from the Mechanical Services Superintendent, Public Works vehicle tenders for 2018. I see Mr. Shovelday's here in case council has questions for him. Well, since there are no questions, then Wayne, you have a question?
Yep.
You almost got off.
Or should I wait till we talk about the second tender?
It's up to you. Go ahead. Ask your questions.
Wayne, just my question is, and maybe for some clarification for me, on the second truck tender, which is the paint truck, right?
Yes.
And the IRF fund has $62,200 allocated for that truck, and the low tender came out at $88,230. And maybe with the IRF fund, do we have the ability to move funds around within the IRF fund to make up that shortfall? I know there's talk about trade-in on the vehicles, but even if trade off on vehicles and we come up short, where does that extra funding come on the bid from the IRF?
That was after, these ones here, there won't be a trade values on them, because the market value, the trade value was really low. So,
Right.
so we're going to
Sell them
put them
privately
up, sell it privately, and hopefully get market value.
So if we still come up for shortfall,
Yeah,
where does that money come from
that
to
would
make up the difference?
that would be coming from the earth
And just another portion of the IRF?
portion of the
Okay,
earth.
no, I
yeah.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions, council? Then Councillor Minions, could you please make those motions? They're actually three separate motions.
That the report from the Mechanical Services Superintendent dated April 4th, 2018, providing results on vehicle tenders be received.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion, council? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That council for the City of Port Alberni award vehicle tender 01318 truck with service body to Alberni Chrysler in the amount of $90,111 plus taxes with funding from the IRF.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion, council? Councillor McClement?
Yeah, this is a repair truck, is it, for going around and working on other vehicles, or just when it says service body, I'm curious.
Yes, that's our line painting truck and sign repair truck.
I thought that was the next one. Am I mixed up?
No, that's the second one. The second one, the 1218,
No, that's the 1318.
1318. Yeah. The 1318 truck, that one there is a water maintenance truck.
Okay. And that's why they need the four-wheel drive?
Yes. Yeah, because
Okay.
they're all over the place, out to the watershed and everywhere.
Okay.
Any other questions, council? So on the motion then, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That council for the City of Port Alberni award vehicle tender 012-18 one-ton truck with service body to Alberni Chrysler in the amount of $88,230 plus taxes with funding from IRF and the funds received from the sale of vehicles.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion, council? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, thank you.
Council, our next one, report is from the Director of Development Services, development permit. Looking at requesting a consideration of an extension of development permit on 3033 3rd Avenue, which is affectionately known as the gravel parking lot on 3rd Avenue. If you weren't sure which we were talking about. Council wish any clarification? Then, Councillor Sauvé, could you please make that motion?
I'll make the motion that the report from the Director of Development Services dated April 4th, 2018, requesting consideration of an extension of development permit 15-02, with 3033 3rd Avenue be received and request denied.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, questions, Council? Councillor McClement?
Not really a question, Mr. Mayor, but I totally agree with the recommendation that this application came to us quite a while ago, and the owner of this property owns other property we've had troubles with, and I just don't see it being a good thing.
Yep, I would agree with you. He's had more than enough time to meet the terms of the development permit, and that hasn't happened, and doesn't appear to be any quick movement on that. So, any other comments, Council? On the motion then, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And from the City Clerk, some special events permits. We have notes from April 4th meeting, reviewing special event permit applications. Councillor Paulson, could you please make that motion?
That Council for the City of Port Alberni endorse special event permit applications for 2018 as reviewed April 4th, 2018, providing all the provisions of the provincial liquor license requirements are met and the applicants notified accordingly.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? Councillor McClement?
Yeah, I'm a bit curious. There's 3, I think, in here that have unnamed events and to be determined. Are we holding a spot for one that someone else could have had if that already knew what they wanted to do?
CAO, are you able to comment on that?
Mr. Mayor, to my knowledge, there were no applicants that were denied. So those ones that are to be determined are not blocking from somebody else, to my knowledge. It's not unusual for the one group in particular to apply for liquor licenses and then to develop their events afterwards. They're fairly, one of them has, I think, 3 applications through the season.
Yeah, so what they're wanting to do is to make sure that they've sort of held the spot, and then we'll develop the plan
That's correct.
to fit the spot. Okay. All right, so we've been moved. Councillor Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a clerical issue under Salmon Festival. You got John Joyce. It's actually Tony Joyce. Just
Okay, anything else, Council? On the motion then, all those in favor? Carried. From the McLean's Mill Society, we have a monthly report. We have a report dated April 4th from the Executive Director of McLean's Mill Society, providing information about current developments, marketing operations, and upcoming events. And here she is.
Good
Ms.
evening, Mr.
Baldwin.
Mayor and Councillor, and welcome back, Councillor McLennan. So before we get into my report, I just wanted to quickly go over, I've had a few questions coming up about our monthly financials that are not presented just yet in 2018. So I have a couple of our board directors, our president and director, to talk to you a little bit about our AGM at the end of my report. But just for clarification, because we are still going through our process, our AGM is slated for the 30th of this month. At that time, we'll be presenting our year-end to council. And then after which, on the next consecutive meeting that I am attending, I will bring with you a summary of all of our month ends, so January through March. And then we will resume reporting monthly as we were before. So that's clarification there. So a couple things I wanted to bring to your attention. We have officially kicked off, and we had a really, really successful start. I'm very pleased with our team, even though we are slightly bare bones staffed at the moment. We're still hiring, and we'll be doing a hiring fair. We had an Easter event that saw over 250 community members attending That was so spectacular. This is the first time that we as the society have put this on. And I was really pleased the weather held, which I was not too sure about. It had been raining the couple days before. And then we had about 140 guests for breakfast that morning. So I would say that was a pretty smashing good start for our 2018 season. We are totally on par for our campsites. We've got 7 powered sites in now. And we're waiting literally just to put the crushed rock down, so aesthetically to finish our roads. And then the tent sites are coming in, so we are on point for our May long weekend long opening. And we've got a couple of other interesting things going on. I wanted to take a moment right now, given that you're all wearing yellow daffodils on your lapels right now, to let you know, as you know, we are bringing back steam periodically through the season, so we'll be able to run our number 7 steam engine. But we thought, as it is Cancer Awareness Month, we would like to partner with the society to offer an opportunity for our guests that are riding on the 28th of April. A part, $10 from every ticket sold will go towards the Cancer Society. So one of our mandates this year, as you know, is to develop community connection. And as we're doing this, we're hoping to partner with a few different organizations throughout the season to do some other events like this. But this is a really awesome opportunity to welcome the community back to the steam. We're hoping to have a really fun day out there. We're going to have all of our programming running, so there'll be tours and restaurants open. But on the backside of this, we get to contribute to something where I would say every one of us in this room has been affected by cancer in some way. So really pleased. I hope that I see all of you and your smiling faces. And part of that, the ticket will go to a really, really good cause. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, so are you making that offer to other groups in town that may be interested as well?
One of the ways that we're hoping to do that, so if you recall, we were running something called Music in the Park last year. So last year, given there is some opportunity to partner with Solstice and there was some partnering with some of the arts community, it came to my attention that this might be a really great way to do some revenue shares. So helping us bring in a local artist or somebody who's looking to have a little bit of exposure, give our guests that really amazing experience out in the park on the music in the afternoon. It's very low key, come out and have lunch, listen to the Under the Maples, our music. And then we were thinking of a way to raise funds so it can become a community building music opportunity. This is just one of the events that we are hosting that really makes sense to have partners. And so you'll see more of that from us. That's one of our bigger goals and part of our value and vision as well.
Could be an interesting place to have art shows. And,
You got it. Now that you said that, having said that, we've got a fundraiser happening June 15th. We're partnering with Solstice this year to be part of their big Solstice Festival, but we're going to be doing a 3-day art show at the train station. So I'm not going to tell you too much right now because it's going to be unveiled in due time, but it's going to be a pretty spectacular event, I think, for our community. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're going to put lit lanterns in the inlet as well?
Are you coming to volunteer? That sounds like a great idea.
Interesting. Okay. Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say we were at the event on Easter. It was fantastic. There were tons of people there. My son didn't manage to get all of the eggs, so that's good. He got a whole bunch. But yeah, the breakfast was great. All of the volunteers, I know Bill and his family were key. So yeah, it was really well done.
We
So
have
thank
a
you for
fantastic team of supporters wrapped right around the entire project of McLean Mill. We're very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Paulson.
Yeah, I think you should use this opportunity as your shout out. I notice there's a couple points in here for asking for volunteers, both in STEAM and for trains. So
Yes.
now's your chance.
So there's actually many ways to get involved with McLean Mill this year. So of course we've got one of our directors, Dwayne Parfit, over here is heading up a new training program that will help train up ambassadors, so community ambassadors here, to lead many things. So actually doing some of our historic tours, we're working with the museum and the Industrial Heritage Society to gain vast knowledge of the Heritage Commission. And then we're always looking for volunteers in that capacity. our gift shop this year. We are also looking for STEAM, anybody who's involved in STEAM and who has an interest in learning a little bit more. We're looking for conductors on the train. We're looking for engineers, firemen, and also on the infamous JJ logging show. They're going to be running quite a few more dates this year. We're really pleased that we were able to get some fire permits that we didn't have last year. So we'll see those guys out there a little bit more. And they're looking for volunteers as well. So lots of ways to get involved. If you have anything, we train, and we're happy to do that. So it's a really fun environment, and I'm looking for as many faces as are interested. It's a huge project.
We're looking for volunteers for the Shaker too, right?
We certainly are. That's August 10th through 12th. So lots of ways to get involved.
Same weekend as Thunder in the Valley.
That's right. It's going to be, how do the kids say? It's popping in Port Alberni on that weekend.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, Council? Councillor McClellan, could you please move receipt of this?
I move we receive the report from the McLean Mill Society as presented.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And from our current status report.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I think Mr. Collette wanted to interact with council around the AGM. Is that correct?
I can, yeah.
Oh, well, please come forward before we go on to the status report. You were sitting there so politely,
Actually,
I just didn't even know.
I thought I was off the hook, but I guess not. Yeah, just to clarify on our AGM, it is planned for Monday, April 30th at McLean Mill, 4 p.m. So we'd certainly love to see the public there and the representative from the city, of course. And really, I think you do have, does council have the agenda in front of them? No?
No, council's not seen that draft agenda, but
Okay.
if you want to speak to the higher points, that would be helpful.
Sure. So basically our agenda right now as it is, of course, we'll call to order. Determination of quorum, kind of a unique society, so a quorum will be one. And I would assume that the city clerk will be there or her representative. So that'll be, I'm sure we can meet quorum. We'll approve the agenda. We will provide the agenda as well to council by your next meeting, or confirm it if it's any different than it is right now. Review the minutes from the last general meeting, which of course there wasn't one. Old business, and then we will have our financial statements ready for you to review, and that'll be a key part of the meeting. Consideration of reports, if any, of directors. So myself as president and others will probably have reports for you to review. Appointment of directors. So we're hoping that there is interest from the current posting, and so we would appoint those with council direction, of course. We will appoint our auditor, and again for the current fiscal year. New business, if there is any new business, we will let you know by April 23rd so that you can review that in advance in case you've got any questions on that. And then we will adjourn the meeting. And so really, we do invite the public. We certainly like to see you there. I guess you would be there as the public, because I believe City Clerk would be there as the member. And so, yeah, that's what we've got planned.
Okay, questions, Council? Mr. Collette, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate the update. Okay, Council, that brings us to our status report. Any questions on the status report, Council? Councillor Sobey?
Just for the Development Service Department, number 20, just so the public could be updated on this, if there's any progress on the report on secondary suites and so forth.
I have not had an opportunity to work on that file for quite some time.
My favorite one? How about the one at 2nd and Athol? Any update on that one?
It is still my intention to try and bring that forward to the April 23rd council meeting for your consideration.
Perfect. I just don't want council to forget about it. Anything else, Council? Councillor Paulson?
Perhaps the CAO might be able to let us know if there's any developments on number 9. That's the tripartite agreement around the Alberni Valley Museum, kind of where we're at with that.
Mr. Mayor, I know that the Director of Parks, Rec, and Heritage has been working with the Heritage Commission on that topic, and there's a report pending. I would expect it would be here at the next meeting of council, with the Heritage Commission's advice to council on steps to take to achieve that goal.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Then, Councillor Alberni, would you like to move receipt of that report, please?
I move receipt of the current status report.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And from the manager's monthly reports, again, from the, we have one report from the Development Services report. There he is.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do need to advise council that after an application to extend the grant and to advise about potential scope change on the BC Bike grant for the multi-use path on Stamp Avenue, just towards the end of last week, BC Bike emailed and indicated that the scope change would not be approved under the existing grant that they provided to us. And essentially the city has an option to try and fund the balance of it ourselves, which would be in excess of $1 million, so certainly not within our budget capability this year. Or essentially, we would end this current grant contract. We could then work on a new design that is kind of, and define the project as more in line with something that's feasible, and then we would make a new grant application to Bike BC once that's been determined.
All right, Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, is there any chance of doing the original plan?
We would have to find approximately an additional $800 to $1 million to do what was originally scoped out.
Just having a bike lane on one side is $1 million bucks?
That was so the original submission to Bike BC was a fully separated multi-use bike path on both sides of the east and west side of Stamp Avenue.
That's not the way I had the memory of it, but if that's the one, then yeah, cancel it.
Okay. So they're going to get their money back, is what you're saying?
Well, they never gave us the money. The way they do it is we do the work and then we have to apply to get the money after we've expended all the money. But
right.
So they had put $100,000 towards it, and we had $100,000 from our carbon fund that we had funded. So neither one of those will be expended this year.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if we come up with another bike path plan in another area, can we reapply for this
Yes.
monies? Okay.
Well, it would be different monies. It would be a new version of that, and would be a different. So they won't be holding the money for us. We would reapply for a new program under through Bike BC.
I guess what I'm saying that the bike BC thing is ongoing.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Unless the government changes its mind, but it's currently being funded.
Yeah, I did read that there was some additional money, provincial money going into that.
Yeah.
So, just out of curiosity, does it happen from time to time that cities just aren't able to do what they originally planned for, and then therefore they can't take advantage of the money, or is this unique?
I would say this is not unique. I haven't certainly not looked into it in any great deal, but yeah, circumstances change. When you have grant applications that you have to make on short notice, you do the best of your ability to put something forward, and then you kind of go from there. And we know that happens often, where a grant opportunity will come forward, but congratulations, you need to have submitted in 2 weeks or something like that. And that was the circumstances here, where this opportunity was available, and we did it in quite a short turnaround time.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Council? Councillor Sauvé, are you able to move receipt of the report?
That the monthly report from the Director of Development Services providing information about current departmental operations be received.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that brings us then, Council, to bylaws. First is from the Director of Finance. Tax rates for 2018, bylaw number 4962. We have a report from Director of Finance dated April 3rd, advising that the community charter requires the council must, by bylaw, impose property value taxes for the year by establishing tax rates prior to May 15th of each year. So, Councillor Washington, are you able to move that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the report dated April 3, 2018 from the Director of Finance be received.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Questions? Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, is this including the other taxes or just the city?
I believe this is just the cities.
Yeah, I just noticed that the others are noted here, and they said a tax notice has to include those. I was wondering if that's did.
That's correct. CAO?
Mr. Mayor, the Director of Finance is here. She's nodding her head. These are just the city taxes, but the report does note that there are other taxes that the city collects for other agencies that will be on the final tax notice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alberni?
Just for interest, I just noticed at the bottom of the report there, it said that the average value of homes increased by 22% in the city, which I thought was insanely large. Is there any precedent to that?
For Port Alberni?
Yeah.
This is probably the most,
'Cause that seemed like a
Director
very large
Rothwell,
number.
is that, in your experience, is this an extraordinary increase for Port Alberni?
It is in recent memory. We were one of the, most of the island went up around 20%. So we're right in the grouping. Of course, Victoria, south of Duncan, has gone crazy too. So
Yeah. Well, we saw that Machosen had gone up higher and Euclid had gone up higher still, but we were up quite significantly.
yeah.
But to compensate for that, we reduced the mill rate.
That's right. Last year we were around 9.5%. This year we're around 7.7.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, I did the tax calculation on my house, and even though it had gone up in assessed value quite significantly, the tax actually dropped a little bit, so.
Oh. Okay.
Who knew?
I'm happy for you.
You'll have
Don't
to check
tell
that.
anybody.
I'm sure I'll get it one way or another, so. Okay, on the motion then. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Councillor Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the tax rate 2018 bylaw 4962 now be introduced and read a first time.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That the tax rate 2018 bylaw 4962 be read a second time.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And that the tax rate 2018 bylaw 4962 be read a third time.
And I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Washington. Director of Development Services, Official Community Plan and Zoning Bylaw Amendments. Councillor Minions, are you able to move these ones, please?
That official community plan amendment number 25, 4000 Bird Street, District Acquisition Corp., bylaw number 4952 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal and numbered 4952.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That zoning bylaw map amendment number 27, 4000 Bird Street, District Acquisition Corp., Bylaw number 4953 be now finally adopted, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with a corporate seal and numbered 4953.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, council.
Is there a smiling face out there?
I'm sorry? Well, I'm just, it wasn't really a motion, it was just sort of the explanatory paragraph at the beginning. It's,
I don't see a smiling face out in the audience. There it is. There it is.
that's what you call faith.
Yeah. Fate.
Okay, council, under correspondence for action. The first item is an email from Carolyn Jaskin dated March 29th, requesting council's consideration of the Dancing with Salmon 2020 proposal, 20 identified achievable projects community-wide, either started or completed by 2020. Councillor Paulson, do you want to move that motion, please?
That the email dated March 29, 2018, requesting council's consideration of Dancing with Salmon 2020 proposal be received.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion, council? Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, there's an awful lot in this letter. I wasn't totally clear on what all of the things were proposals she had, but I think we should receive it and also thank her for all the thought she's put into improving Port Alberni, and we can probably work together on some of this as we figure it out.
I absolutely agree. I agree. There are a number of initiatives that council is working on that Carolyn needs to be aware of and invited to participate in, and so we do definitely need to get.
Yeah, so if you take that as a friendly amendment, that we just send her a thank you and work with her, then that's fine.
Absolutely. City Clerk, you got that? Okay. Then on the motion with the amendment, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And council, we have from the ADSS class of 2018 from the Parent Grad Committee, a letter dated the end of March requesting the use of city streets for their grad parade on Saturday, June 9th. The parade route is Anderson Avenue to the Athletic Hall via 10th Avenue and Rogers Street, as has been the case in previous years. So from the old ADSS to the new ADSS, even though the old ADSS is now just a site, not a building, and should we say a memory, and after this year, not much more. Councillor McClellan, do you want to move that motion, please?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, the letter dated March 30th, 2018, from the ADSS class of 2018 Parent Grad Committee requesting use of city streets for a grad parade on Saturday, June 9, 2018, from 5 to 6:30 p.m. be received and approved subject to the provision of $2 million liability insurance in the city's name and pertinent information being provided to the RCMP, Fire Department, and BC Ambulance.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Any discussion, council? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And council, from the ICLEI, Together for Climate, we have an email dated April 4th from ICLEI requesting consideration of the City of Port Alberni as one of 8 communities to participate in a project, Together for Climate, being proposed to be submitted for funding to the Real Estate Foundation of BC under their General Grants Program. So it's an informal expression of interest by April 12th and a letter of support by the end of April. Councillor Alamani, do you want to move that motion, please?
Certainly, that the email dated April 4th, 2018 from ICLEI be received, and Council for the City of Port Alberni proceed to provide an informal expression of interest to participate in the Together for Climate project as proposed.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Question, Councillor McClellan.
Yes, I have several questions, Mr. Mayor. First of all, what does ICLEI stand for? I can't find it in there. Maybe I missed it, but I did read it through a couple of times.
I did too. And I think there was another piece that went with this letter that explained it. But I don't know. City Clerk,
Mr. Mayor, I can't find it either, and I looked online and couldn't find it easily.
We don't know who we're dealing with here, and we're voting.
So I must confess, I haven't been able to track down who these folks are, but they are making a grant application, and they're asking for a non-binding expression of interest at this point.
Could you get that information for council, please?
I could. This is time sensitive, so if we want to be part of this, we would need to know at this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McLennan?
Yeah, I'd also like to know if the local real estate people are behind this, because they've applied to the Real Estate Board of BC or Vancouver Island, I forget now, for the grant, so they don't have the money yet. And also, I'd like to know, because what is our commitment? Seems like an awful lot of staff time listed in there. So, I mean, if it's just, you know, I don't mind doing these non-binding votes, but once we get them, we suddenly have all this stuff and all these expenses. And I'm kind of nervous, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Paulson?
I guess maybe I'm on page with, I couldn't figure out who they were. And also in their correspondence, there's no address or location for them anywhere. There is a phone number.
Yep.
But are they from Vancouver? Are they from Toronto? Are they from
Richmond.
Richmond?
They're from Richmond.
Close enough to Vancouver. Okay. No, it's just clarification. Like I like to know who I'm dealing with.
Oh, I'm on their website.
Councillor Alberni?
Yeah, I'm on their website too, and I have not found out what ICLEI actually means.
It's not a real acronym.
No, it sounds like it's a international organization, is what it sounds like, out of Germany, perhaps.
Yeah, you're making things up now.
No, it's all on the website. But yeah, I don't know what the actual acronym means. Anyway, on the actual thing, I thought the results. So the results that they had in their report here, it says a local climate impact report, a vulnerability and risk assessment, implementation ready adaptation plan, and engaging network of local stakeholders. These are all things that I know the Climate Change Committee has kind of in the back of their mind, but would never put forward to council because it would be too much for staff time. I think this is something that would be really valuable potentially for us to be able to leverage something that's happening elsewhere, and hopefully come out of it with a lot less staff time having to be committed to it. I mean, the timeline is very reasonable. We're talking, 2 years between start and finish. So I hope we can support that. And I don't know if the motion actually said the letter of intent, but not the support letter. So I would like to send that letter of support as well.
So but the motion says to provide an informal expression of interest to participate. And so they're proposing to do most of the work. Our staff time is putting together the letter. So I don't see it as a lot of staff time.
Well, there's a list of things that they want as our commitment, and I think staff will be doing all of that on page 59. What is the commitment? They say it's only going to take 15 days over 2 years, but I think that's pretty ambitious.
It's just an expression of interest.
It's an expression of interest, yeah. Estimated time commitment approximately 15 days over a 2-year period. Okay. Any other question, council? So, on the motion, all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. And council, that brings us then to the next item, which is a proclamation from the Seniors Week Organizing Committee. We have a letter dated March 29th requesting that council declare June 3rd to 9th, 2018 as Seniors Week in Port Alberni. Councillor Sauvé, would you like to make that motion?
That the letter dated March 29, 2018 from the Seniors Week Organizing Committee requests that June the 3rd to the 9th, 2018 be proclaimed as Seniors Week in Port Alberni, be received and the week proclaimed as requested.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor, just because I am one.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And City Clerk, we have some informational correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 1, letter dated March 19, 2018, providing expenditures to February 28, 2018. From the Reconciliation Committee, we have minutes of the March 7, 2018 meeting. From the City of Maple Ridge, a copy of a letter dated March 14, 2018 to Finance Minister Carol James regarding the recent announcement of the employer health tax and the significant cost increase to municipalities. Number 4, letter dated March 21, 2018, responding to the Mayor's letter of January 9, 2018, regarding local government's share in provincial cannabis taxation revenue and advising the province is committed to working collaboratively with local governments in the development of a provincial cannabis regulatory framework. And number 5, the Kidney Foundation of Canada email dated April 4, 2018, providing information regarding the National Organ and Tissue Donation Awareness Week, which is April 22nd to 29 of 2018, and the importance of organ donation.
Which can all be done online. Any council wish to pull anybody out? Anything out from there, Councillor Paulson?
Just item number 3, and we don't need an answer today, but maybe our Director of Finance could come back with the actual impact that employer health tax would have on our own municipality. I love it when we get surprised with this stuff, but anyway, just as a matter of education for us.
Anything else, Council? Councillor Washington, can you please move receipt of this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the informational correspondence items numbered 1 through 5 be received and filed.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Council, there is no report from in camera, which then brings us to Council reports. First one is from me. Council, on March 27th, I was at the Island Good event at the Hertels Meets. Great little event out there. I'd never been to Hertels before, although I certainly knew where it was. It's a long ways out there at the end of Bland Road. April 1st, I was out at McLean's Mill after Councillor Alemany had been there with his kids, and they actually still did leave some Easter eggs. I did manage to see some. The Easter egg hunt and breakfast, it was a great occasion. April the 3rd, we had a tour here of City Hall for homeschooled students. April the 5th, we had the UPNIT board meeting that I attended on behalf of Council. City of Port Alberni, if you recall, is a 5% stake in UPNIT Power, our run-of-river power project on China Creek. And I also met with Scott Fraser, our MLA and Minister of Reconciliation and Indigenous Relations. I had a number of questions for him, a number of points we needed to make. April the 6th, I was at a fundraiser at ADSS to raise money for ADSS athletics. Great event, live and on stage, Billy Joel and Elton John, or at least someone who was impersonating them and did a great job. April the 7th, the fundraiser at Echo, and it was the Centennial Bells fundraiser. It was a fundraiser to raise money for the Justin Knight Foundation. And then April the 9th, this morning, actually, it's a photo op with the Parkinson's Society at Smitty's, and then and that was it. So that's my report. I move acceptance of my report.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And from the ACRD, Mr. Paulson.
Well, there wasn't a lot to report from the last meeting. I think in between the last council meeting, there was a special board of directors meeting presenting the financial plan, and it was heavily attended by the public, and neither person had anything to say. that was March the 28th in the evening, and the last ACRD meeting, couple of things that stood out in my mind was once again the direction that it's out of our jurisdiction, but the direction that the board took, or the ACRD took on the development out at Sprout Lake, and I don't think it really sent a good message to people who are looking to develop in Port Alberni, but that's the residents of Sprout Lake, and it's their jurisdiction to choose what they do out there. Just going off the top of my head, I can't think of much else, Mr. Mayor, that was really
Nope, you covered it.
earth-shattering for the city.
Okay, you want to move acceptance here?
I would like to move acceptance of the ACRD report, and Councillor McLevin will be back taking my place now that he's back from laying on the
And I'll second
second your motion there, Councillor Paulson, and I do agree with your assessment of that Sprout Lake thing.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. And that brings us then to councillors' reports. Let's start with Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going to concentrate on our Heritage meeting, April 4th. Just a few highlights. The community at large announced that the ADSS was doing a production of Grease, May 10, 11, and 12, and the Port Players are getting together a play called Jungle Book. Industrial Heritage Society is still working on their identity and volunteering heavily at the mill. From the school board, they're arranging a meeting with Scott Fraser, hoping for a voice in the government. Maritime Heritage Society has their AGM April 24th. ACRD, again, Ms. Director Cody had very little to say, which was really strange for one of our meetings. All she said was the budget was passed and hoped to see us all at the AVICC. Arts Council, there's a book sale May 11th. They need books, so you can drop your books up at the Roland Arts Center. Under the museum. Film Fest, final one's coming up April 29th. C'est la vie. It's in French with English subtitles, so there's a good date night for you, Councillor Sauvé. And the Film Fest will begin again in September. And just a reminder that the Heritage Fair is May 4th and 5th. And finally, from Director Thorpe, she will be presenting her report on the quad-parte agreement with the museum operations at our April 23rd meeting. And that's my report, sir.
Thank you. And from Councillor Alberni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing, so I'll go back a little step. I found out what ICLEI meant. ICLEI, so it's on their webpage because nobody knows what it means. ICLEI originally stood for International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. But in 2003, they dropped that phrase and became ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability. So there you go. So it actually doesn't actually mean anything. So just think about the local government sustainability part. For the report, the reconciliation event on the 27th was definitely a highlight. It was fantastic. Thank you to Councillor Binions and to Chief Councillor Dick for their work and for everyone on the committee. It was very, very good, very well attended. The only complaint I think that I heard was that it was too loud because there was so much talking going on, which isn't all bad at all. So it's all good. Next one, I already talked about the Easter event. It was a fantastic event, like I said, and hopefully there's more to come at the mill. I was at Food Security Climate Disruption Committee last week for our monthly meeting, where we went through more of our recommendations for council that we'll be bringing back shortly, hopefully for the next meeting. And then the last one, I want to mention that I was at hockey camp with my son for the first time last week, and Councillor Paulson was out there on the ice just doing his thing. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for that, Councillor Paulson.
Yeah. Thank you. And Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just briefly speak on the reconciliation event. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know most of council, whoever was able to, was there. We had a fantastic turnout of over 100 people, and just in general, really great discussion. A lot of people shared their stories and their opinions and their ideas, and I think it was really constructive, and I think it left everybody wanting to do more and move forward and come together. So it was a great event, and we're going to be putting out a final report from that event probably in a month or so, possibly longer. Lots of work, lots of data or lots of information to get together there. But we will be connecting with everybody who attended and following up with next steps. So thank you everyone for coming.
And I note that there's a number of people in the community that are now wondering how they can volunteer to be part of that. And I also noted that there were a number of tables there that people didn't actually move. When the drum sounded, they were so engrossed. Okay, Councillor Paulson.
Once again, I went to the Advancing Reconciliation evening, and my congratulations to all people that were so instrumental and worked hard, the note takers and organizers, and thank you for that, Councillor Minions. That's great. On the weekend, we held, people ask, what do the Bulldogs bring to the community? And I always hate to kind of break it down to dollars and cents, but I will at this time. On the weekend was the first of 3 Bulldogs identification camps running Friday through Sunday. And we had 121 athletes attend that camp. And if you were trying to get a room in Port Alberni last weekend, there were no rooms at the inn. The city was booked solid. Each one of those people that takes hotel rooms spends money on food. Hopefully they spend some time in some of our shops. So there is economic spin-off. They buy gas. The parents are there looking for things to do in the community. So it's not just about the 60 minutes that those boys play on the ice throughout the season. There are other things that they bring and I think it's to some degree, it's the social inventory that it brings to the community. It's with heavy hearts that we had the Humboldt incident, and I would like to reiterate that next Thursday, for those who care to attend, next Thursday night at 6:30 at the multiplex, we will be hosting a vigil. See if I can get through this. Doors open at 6. Feel free to come out. On the bright side, on Sunday, I got to go on the ice with the program called First Shift. And the First Shift program, there's 40 kids this year. And Sunday afternoon, smiling faces made my day. That's all.
Thank you. And Councillor Sauvé.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was present with you on the 27th for the local launch of the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance at Hertels. So that was a great attendance there and got to learn a lot. Also attended the public reconciliation meeting at Barclays, and that was well attended, and a big thank you to the organizers. And it was great to meet a lot of new people and more discussion. Just a reminder that I'm chairing the Investors Group Walk for Alzheimer's this year, again for my 3rd year, and it'll be held at the Glenwood Center in Bob Daly Stadium Sunday, May the 6th, 2018. And if anybody wants any information, you could go to walkforalzheimers.ca and the website there to how to contribute. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McClellan, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much. I had a very good vacation and I actually didn't think about this place too much. However, I did a little. Just briefly on the report, overhearing Councillor Polson on his report on the regional district saying all 2 of the people who came out to the meeting for the budget and the budget review. And that is, to me, a serious problem. I've only been back in town now a few days, but already one of my friends was complaining about stuff going on in the regional district. I said, well, do you ever talk to your director? Well, who's that? And I think the people in the regional district should be waking up to the fact that it's not city council that does things for them or does things that they like or don't like. but it's their own directors are on the board and have a say, and I don't think most of them even vote when it comes to chance, because they think it's just a city vote. So I think it's just something that it's not our concern, I guess, but in a way I think it is, that they take an interest in what's happening and learn what's going on in the valley, really. So anyway, if any of them are watching, there's an election coming this year, go check her out. And on that note, Mr. Mayor, I do have a couple of notices of motion, one to redo and a new one, and I'll move the acceptance of all these wonderful reports from these nice councillors.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, then that brings us to new business. Councillor McClellan, over to you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I made a notice of motion just before I left, and city clerk said she'd hold it until I got back unless you wanted it brought up, and it looks to me like it's being held till I got back.
That's right.
However, I understand that our clerks had a family emergency and has had to go away, so I didn't get a chance to talk to her. So in the next meeting, I'll bring that one up about the properties that to be labeled nuisance or to look at for same.
Okay.
And the other notice of motion, Mr. Mayor, is I noticed that there was a motion at the last council meeting, I believe it was, for wages and so on for councils and the elected staff, non-excluded staff, that's the word. Anyway, and I'd like to make a notice motion that we appoint a civic committee of some form, and we'll work it out and make a motion, talking to staff about it, to make a decision this year on how to handle the problem of the government taking away the tax-free part of the expenses that councillors around the country, across the whole country get. And I won't comment on it until then, but that's what the motion will be about. I think it's a serious thing, and I know I thought about it when it happened, but I thought someone else was going to do something, but I guess they didn't, so.
No? Okay. Thank you very much. Just before this then brings us to a question period, it's an opportunity for public and press to ask questions of mayor and council. Anybody wish? Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's going to be short. Two issues. One, on the motion that was passed at the last meeting to grant the 2.1%, I'm not talking in favor or against that. I want to make that clear. I'm not going. There's a question coming eventually, and but I am certainly in favor of separating them. And so my question is, well, I was surprised the question was asked at the last meeting, and of course it was yes, because one comes under our bylaws and the others comes through policies, staff and council, and I don't know what those policies are either, so it'd be interesting to find out. But I'm wondering if council has considered at all since that last meeting it couldn't be done this year anyway, because there's so much more involved if the council is looking at ways to grant themselves a wage. There has to be a system set up, and it's not going to be very easy. But are you looking at reviewing the past way we've done it and looking at possibly separating them? So and the reason for doing that is, if I think it's worthwhile giving this, it's a right thing to do to give the staff an increase, but I don't think the committee should, then I'm going to be voting yes. And I don't see the advantage that we have of putting them together. I like to hear the pros and the cons for each one of them separately without using one argument to get the increase from the council. I'm not explaining this very well, but I think you've got the gist.
I think I understand, and certainly that's what Councillor McClemon's motion is.
It was part, yes.
Is responding to.
I'm glad he brought that up.
Yep.
That was now the other one that I've got is actually a few months old, and I asked the staff, or the council asked staff to come up with some recommendations or a report on the response to people occupying commercial buildings. And if I may just quickly quote so I understand my question. One was that there was 3 commercial buildings that were where people were living in, contrary to the zoning bylaw. The other question, I asked for a list of the buildings that were authorized residential, that were unauthorized residential use, and the report said these are active bylaw enforcement files that will not be released publicly. So I guess the one question is, why can't they be released publicly, or at least part of it, so we know what action is being taken by the council? And secondly, what are we doing about the 3? And that's only an estimate. I mean, it's very hard to get a correct account. What are we doing about the 3 that are actually occupying the commercial buildings?
I'd have
You
to.
say there's an active file happening, but I don't know what the active file is.
I'd have to turn that over to the CAO to comment on
That's
that,
fine.
because he's the one who would be on top of that operational matter.
Yep, no problem.
But having said that, I know that we did respond in the next meeting to those questions for you as much as we were able to, because I remember reading out a report in response to that.
I don't believe I remember.
That's
Much
probably
of a
where
response.
we said we couldn't comment on active files because they may be.
Well, that was this report that I'm reading right here.
Yeah.
I didn't give a response to my questions.
Okay, CAO, are you able to respond to that right now, or?
Mr. Mayor, I'd rather not respond now and chance that I get it wrong. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to consult with staff and bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Comment.
So we wait another 2 weeks to get my. Where I'm coming from, and I've already said this before, it's there's been a reluctance to go anywhere. 2 places have actually got rid of these. I call them criminals because that's the breaking the laws.
Mhm.
But they ended up taking the law into their own hands, and they got their friends together and they evicted them. Now that's illegal. And because we're not coming up with a resolve, we're forcing these people to do something on their own. And I think that's unfair to the business people in this town, where they can't rely on the support of council and staff. And I know it's a difficult situation, so I mentioned once before, the police won't do anything because it's a civil matter, but if they're violating our bylaws, then I have not been given any good reason why we cannot go in as a bylaw infraction, notifying the owner and the tenant through the proper process. You're illegal.
Yeah.
Correct the situation.
I know Councillor Paulson wants to say something, and then I'll respond as well. Councillor Paulson?
Thank you.
I was just going to refer to the fellow that was in next door to Delmar Reeds, and he's gone, but you're right. When I was in talking to the fellow, the proprietor there, he actually put a cry out onto Facebook and asked, and about 20 people showed up in about
They
half
came
an
and
hour,
evicted.
and they emptied that building out, and it was full. They filled the dumpster full, and but the guy is gone. But he's suing him.
It's illegal what they did.
He's actually countersuing.
However, having said that, there's
I can give you a personal example of why it is. Yeah.
having said that, that's one of the reasons why council has voted to create a bylaw department, so that we actually do have staff to respond to some of these concerns.
I understand it. One councillor just mentioned, is it illegal? And I went through a similar situation with my parents' places on Gabriel. A fellow was there 6 months not paying any rent. We went through the process. I came from Vancouver to Victoria, did all the things, came back, went to Gabriel Island, put the things on the whole long process. 3 months before we started it, 3 months after, no rent. Fortunately, he didn't do any damage. At the end, I went and the lady said, well, we've got it all finished now. We've got it all complete. I said, what do we do now? She said, well, you have to get some, I don't know if it was sheriffs or bylaw enforcers to go over. You have to have 2 of them. You have to go over, and it costs so much money. And I said, so I have to pay to get someone to enforce the law after going through that process. I said, I should have just moved them out and put the stuff on the beach. And she leaned over her desk. She said, Mr. Anderson, if you did that, we would have moved him right back in. I will never forget that, and that's what we're dealing with. So this is a sore point for me, not just for that reason, but we should be doing something to protect our investors and our community retailers, and so I hope we move forward with something.
Yeah,
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you. Council, a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Carried.